Welcome back to the Day One Podcast. Today we're going to go over the recap of the Iowa event with Jared. He's also going to give us a little insight on what it's like to be an RO. Jenay, do you want to start asking some of the thousands of questions you have written down there?
So Jared, start us off with what it means to be an RO at a tactical games match.
It's like this weekend I probably had a little bit more of an abbreviated experience from like the typical RO experience. It was like week and a half ago or whatever, Nick sent me a message and asked me to come out and be an RO. Brandon Wyckoff, who's like been an RO several times, had something pop up and he had to back out from the weekend, which like for him, that's kind of a big deal. So anyway, I filled in the slot there. So because it was kind of late, like typically if you're an RO, you show up a few days early and like you help vet the stages and build the stages and stuff. So I didn't come in, well, it was actually like early Friday morning, but I flew in Thursday night. I didn't actually get like the rental car till like 2 a.m.
Good.
And I think I sent a message to Nick at like 8 o'clock and I was like, hey, I'm just going to grab a hotel for tonight because I don't want to come into the Airbnb at like 3 a.m. and wake everybody up.
Sure.
So anyway, went to the first hotel. They didn't have any rooms, because of course they don't, right?
It's like 3 a.m. at this point, right?
Yeah.
Actually?
Yeah. And so the second, the Rat Motel down the street had a bed. So spent the night there, woke up, and then drove the rest of the way to the range. I think I was still like 30 minutes from the range or whatever. So drove the rest of the way to the range and then got there and like everything was built already, right?
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
I didn't, I think Nick Palacios had something pop up, and so anyway, I think it was Nick and Roe that like pretty much built out everything.
Sure. Wow.
So I got there. My stage was already built, like I said, and it's pretty straightforward 2-gun. Or for me, like I've shot so long, it's pretty straightforward. Right? Then
Sunday it was different though, right?
Do what?
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday was the 27-minute one. So like we had to reset after Saturday and like build out the rest of stuff, but everything was already staged like where it needed to be and all that. And then Brownells had a Bobcat or whatever, Kubota, little skid steer, so we could move stuff around with it. But I think like I waited till the hottest part of the day on Friday and then went on the ruck, just like run the course because I didn't know the course at all. And like Jake, I know that like you mark the course sometimes and you're like, yep, 0 chance anybody's getting lost here. And then people all of a sudden show up getting lost. And then you go out and look at it and you're like, I get it. Like, I understand.
Missed that one.
Yeah, like I understand how this was a little confusing or whatever. So I told Nick, I was like, hey, I want to go run it. I don't want to know anything about it. Like I just want kind of how far it is. And then so I know how to pace it, and then I want to go out on the course and just run it. So I ran the course at like 2 o'clock during the hottest part of the day just to make sure like everything was good. And it got like on the backside of one of the hills, like kind of in one of the valleys, like it got hot. So like I walked a little bit, and then not that walking is new thing for me on the runs, but I walked a little bit over there on the backside of it. And like I felt like it was appropriate, like it wasn't dangerous or whatever. It was hard, but it wasn't dangerous. And especially like if I got through it, I'm not like the best. I would say I'm like above the middle of the pack probably, but like in the middle of the pack in the runs. So
What weight was that this weekend?
I think it was 60.
60-pound ruck for men,
I think
40 for ladies.
It was one of the longer bags. So
Wait, you ran with a bag, not a ruck?
Well, it was a rug. It was a ruck, but like the filler bag was like
in it.
the longer bag.
Or filled all the way up.
Filled all the way up.
Okay.
So I don't know how much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think those are...
Is that 30 or 60?
GoRuck has several different filler bags. They have a 40 filler bag, a 60 filler bag, an 80 filler bag.
It was
did it feel like 60?
It was like 2.5 pounds.
Maybe it's not.
It was
an
like
80.
2.5 foot long, probably.
Yeah.
I know they have a 20, a 40, and a 60 filler bag. Maybe they don't have an 80. So
It
maybe
felt
it
like
was
60.
It's
Yeah.
probably
What
60.
it was. So anyway, went on the run. It felt kind of appropriate. I didn't warm up. Like literally, I didn't know I was running it like 3 minutes before, and I was like, hey, I'll go run it right now. And Nick like dropped me off by the ruck, and 2 minutes later I was running.
Sure.
Right? So like I got kind of the experience of the run.
How was the heat? Because you said you ran it at the hottest part of the day, obviously on purpose.
Yeah. I got hot with like a mile and a half left. There was, like I said, there was like a valley. So the run was very up and down. It wasn't like here we have like rolling hills, you know. There it's not like a hill. It's like it kind of goes down and then up. You know, it's you're only going up for like 100 yards, or whatever. And like here, you will go up for like 3/4 of a mile, and then go down for 3/4 of a mile. And
it's gradual.
It's gradual. This was like steeper stuff. And then it was like freshly mowed, and the grass on either side was like 2.5, probably 2.5 foot tall, somewhere in there. Took a short break for a snake to cross. My shoe came untied, you know, all the excuses. But anyway, I felt like it was appropriate. It was good.
Sure.
Cool.
Then just like did the like cross T's, dot I's type stuff. But yeah, so typically when you RO, you show up a little bit early and you have a little bit more ownership of your stage, right? They walked me through what the stage was going to be on day 2, so I could understand like more about what was going on with it. And that was about it for like the setup and stuff. But then, yeah, that's the front part of being an RO, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's something that you enjoyed about being an RO?
Like seeing people get the wins that they want. Like, I don't know who the guy was, but he was a newer competitor. I think he was in the Masters group, and he wasn't doing great on the 2-gun stage, but he hit one of the targets on the very back berm, you know, and he hit it with like 2 seconds left. And
how far do you think it was to the back berm?
They were saying it was like 460, something like that.
Nice.
And he did not get it. I think he had like 5 or 6 targets that he got FTEs on and stuff. And that means that he didn't shoot at the target at all. But he couldn't have been happier when he was done. 'Cause he's like, my goal for this whole competition was to hit one of these 3 targets on the back berm. And he was super happy about it. So see people like, there were a couple people that got the swinger that had never shot a swinger before. So they were super pumped about it.
Swinger or spinner?
Spinner. Sorry. We 2 different names, like whatever, same thing.
And that was rifle spinner on the 2-gun stage,
Rifle
right?
spinner. Yeah. I think.
How did they incorporate that? Meaning, was it last? Was it whenever you wanted?
I let them shoot it at whatever. I let them shoot long range. Like in the past, there's kind of been dictated, like you shoot this way or you shoot that way. I let them shoot it however they wanted. I drew out the stage on a piece of cardboard. Like I drew out the targets and then numbered them. And like in the brief, I was like, you're going to use your pointer finger and you're going to point at the targets in the order that you're going to shoot them. So that way I know where you're at. And they could shoot the swinger first, last, whatever. So like they came up to the barricade, and that's the one position they shot all of the long range from. So it wasn't like they were moving during or there wasn't multiple positions. And there was 10 static steel ranging from like 70 yards to 468 is what I heard a couple of them say. So there's 10 static steel and then the spinner as well.
How far away was the spinner?
I think people were saying that front right target was 70 yards, and it was just beyond that. So I'd say it was like 80, 85 yards. I purposely don't know the distances because like the number one cardinal sin of being an RO is telling people the distance of the targets.
Yep.
Because if you're off by a little bit, you're immediately at fault for. So I put it on them. A lot of people ask me like, "Hey, what are the distances here?" I'm like, "Go ask a friend."
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be responsible for telling you what the distance is. And that's also part of the stage. Because ranging targets is a skill.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So like there's definitely a skill behind ranging a target and making sure you have the right target or the right distance for that target. And at 460, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
That's a smart idea too as an RO. To draw it out and like number it and have them show you before to make your life easier spotting it.
And that's what, it's kind of like the reverse of what I normally do. Cause like as a competitor, I will draw it out on a piece of paper and number the targets. And right before I shoot, I hand it to the RO and say, this is the order I'm shooting in. So that way they can go and they can, like as I'm shooting, they can glance down and they know what target I'm going to next, because I want to get the hit call.
Right.
Like I don't want them to get lost when I'm shooting. So I think one or two people showed me like their armband that they had, so I knew what order they were shooting in. So
can you talk about the differences? You mentioned FTE. So on specifically like 2-gun and 2-gun style stages, there's a lot of different types of penalties. So
yeah,
can you talk about that?
So tactical games inside of 200 yards is a 10-second penalty. Beyond 200 yards is a 20-second penalty. And then there's an FTE. So an FTE means you didn't shoot at it, and that is a 30-second penalty.
It's called failure to engage.
Failure to engage. So that means you didn't shoot at it.
30 seconds, you said?
30 seconds. And it doesn't matter what distance it is, it's a 30-second penalty. So what that means, and I briefed it so that everybody would know. I was like, hey, if you're worried about not finishing this stage, you need to set a timer on your phone. You need to set a timer on your watch and leave yourself about 20 seconds at the end of the stage. So that way, if things are not going well, you can aim at every target and shoot at every target. Because if you're shooting every target you shoot at inside of 200 yards, you're saving yourself 20 seconds in penalties, even if you miss it. And then beyond 200 yards, you're saving yourself 10 seconds per target by just shooting at it.
Which is really significant when the stage, it could be done in,
I think it's
180 total.
For 3 targets inside of 200.
I think some of the top times were like 90 seconds. So if you time out plus have all those FTEs, I mean, it's drastic.
So if it's
devastating,
5 FTEs at 30 seconds to 150 seconds in penalties. But if like
on a 90-second stage,
3
just
of
your
those,
penalties.
if 3 of those are inside of 200, you've saved yourself 60 seconds in penalties. And if 2 of them are outside of 200, you've saved yourself 20 seconds.
So it's 80 seconds.
That's 80 seconds in penalties that you saved yourself just by missing a target but shooting at it.
Right.
So that's kind of, if you know that this isn't your strong suit, it is worth it to set a timer and at least take a shot at everything. And the funny thing is that 80% of the people did not listen to that and didn't do it. But the 20% that did listen to it and did do it, in that last 20 seconds, ended up getting hits that they never thought they were going to get. Because they just relaxed and shot. They were just pulling the trigger on the target. And they weren't expecting or trying to hit it, and they ended up hitting a lot of them.
Right.
So, and it's kind of funny because they just relaxed and started pulling the trigger, and they started getting hits. And like for the previous minute and a half, they hadn't gotten a hit.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, they that was I guess that's the difference in the penalties and like how you can kind of make sure that you can like maximize your time there on the stage.
What's the best part about running a 2-gun stage?
Kind of like I said before, like seeing people get wins that they didn't know, or seeing.
Was that the question you asked already?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, but like seeing people, the best part is probably seeing people maximize, like understanding their ability and knowing that like they're not going to crush it, and smartly shooting the stage.
Sure. Right.
Like not running out of time and they haven't even gotten to the rifle.
Right.
Like tactically going through and using their time wisely. That's pretty cool to watch.
Did you have any DQs on that event?
1.
Oh boy.
Just 1.
Yeah. And it was like the 4th shooter.
Okay.
So
was it in a clearing procedure?
No. But so there was two pistol shooting boxes that you shot from, and moving from left to right. He was right-handed, but moving left to right, he advanced. Like he went up the stage and then had to like come back to the box instead of like going directly
lateral. He ran a little forward.
Yeah.
He went a little forward, and then as he was like coming back, he pointed his gun. And then I'm not liberal about safety stuff. But that being said, if there is berm behind where you pointed the gun, and it was 185 or 190, like I'll yell muzzle at you, right? It just so happened that there was somebody standing over where he was beginning to point his gun. But I yelled at him, and he immediately like pointed his pistol, but it was already done.
Right.
Like, it was already done. And like I looked at the person that was standing there, Nick there, and I kind of got the hand signal that was like, he's done. And so that was it.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 other people that got close. Like I had to yell muzzle at them. Mm-hmm. But they didn't break 180, but they were going to if I didn't yell them. So like it was like a preemptive, like I see what's about to happen and trying to stop it. And then there were a couple of people that you could see their mind spinning up. You know what I'm talking about. But like you could see the panic ensue. And like I would yell at them, like, calm down, muzzle, like, and like reel it back in here.
Right.
There were a couple people that they left the box before they had properly cleared, and there were a couple people that like were about to try and hot holster their pistol, and like I was able to yell at them before they did it.
I'm sure they were thankful for that.
Yeah. So like the goal of an RO, like it is an RO, and that's the reason why I take it so personally. If somebody has to get DQ'd, is like I feel like it's my failure.
Yeah.
Not like I didn't explain something good enough, or I wasn't fast enough at recognizing what was about to happen and like stopping it before it happened. So anyway, like I take it personally when somebody gets like it's not a proud moment.
No, no, it's a very tough conversation to have when you have to send somebody home for a weekend.
Like I wish that they could crawl into your brain for like just a second and know that like as much as it sucks for you, at least in my case, in my professional shooting career, I've met a couple that like it's a badge of honor to rack them up. Like we haven't had that in the tactical games. Sure. But like in other shooting sports, you almost get the feeling like it's a badge of honor to IDQ this many people today. Sure. For me, like it affects me way more. Like I guarantee you, like I know the money you invested into it. I know that you trained for it, and I know all this stuff, and I know how it makes you feel. But it makes me feel 10 times worse. Yeah. Like it is a personal failure for me.
When we go back and think about it and think what could have been done or said differently in order to prevent that.
Or set the stage up differently. Sure. Or like how many times did I fail to set this guy up for failure? Right. Like that's what I think about. So I don't like it. I hate it. So.
And also, like you said, how much they put in to even be there. So given that our ROs are usually competitors or wives or husbands of competitors, like they're so ingrained in the sport that they really can relate to their competitors that they're, judging or having to make hard calls on like that.
He took it pretty well. He stayed like, if that ends up being you one day where you get a DQ, don't leave mad. Stay. Yeah. Put on a red shirt. Volunteer for the rest of the weekend. Usually, I'm not going to speak for Nick, but usually if you stick around, put on a red shirt, you're going to get a free event in the future. So you get a chance to come back and do it again. And he stuck around, had a great attitude, helped out a ton. Like it ended up helping a lot.
And for those that have never volunteered before, but have only competed, he actually probably did more work by volunteering for the rest of the weekend than he did.
And like this weekend, I definitely learned a couple of things this weekend as an RO, but it definitely set in stone a lot of stuff that I previously had known about shooting that like it helps you to see people succeed, to see what the really good shooters are doing, and to see what the new shooters are doing, and see the difference in the two. And you advance as a shooter way more because you get, instead of like one run at a stage,
you get 190.
You get 190 runs at the stage watching other people shoot it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then like calling hits, same thing. Like you can sit there and like you can see their misses, and you're thinking like, okay, if I saw that miss, what's my next move? Right. Type thing. So you get thousands of reps at the mental side of shooting long range. Like, if I saw a bullet hit right here, what would I do next? Or you're seeing people miss targets that have like grass behind the target so you can't see. So you're like, all right, my next move would be, I'm going to do this next. Then I'm going to do this next. And you get thousands of reps of seeing, this is what I do right here. This is what I do right here. So, it definitely helps out a lot.
That's cool.
to quickly recap, like definitely some things that I learned along the way and noticed along the way. Definitely pick a simple plan, right? So like Gil won the stage by a couple seconds. I think Hebner got second, like overall. Hebner won for elite, but Gil won overall, which
The 2-gun stage.
the 2-gun stage. Yeah. So like a stage like the 2-gun stage, you can say Gil won, right? Because they did the identical thing.
Sure.
Whenever you're looking at other stages, you can't really say that because like the weights were different, the distances were different, like all that other stuff. Gil picked one of the simplest ways to shoot the stage, right? Like near to far down the left side, near to far down the right side, spinner. Or he shot spinner last. Then he shot one shot on the top, waited till the right time, shot one shot at the bottom, waited till the right time, one shot on the top. Then he missed one at the top, didn't panic and try and send another round, just waited until his time was to shoot at the bottom, shot again. There was a time where he might have been able to like fire 8 shots at it and force it over, but he shot at the bottom, waited for it, shot at the top again. Then it got to a tipping point. Like that's when you try and force over a spinner, right? You don't try to force it over at 45 degrees. It ain't happening.
Right.
But like it got to very close to a tipping point, like where it slowed down almost to a stop at the top, and he shot it again and it went over.
Sure.
So he forced it over at the end. Where I saw people really messing up is like they'd see a flash of red and they try to shoot the back of the target. And what they ended up doing was like stopping some of the momentum they're catching up. A lot of people would they were 2 shots away from getting the spinner over, and then they try to do something fancy. And the next thing you know, the spinner, it's like reset.
Oh, it's dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So a simple plan, know your limits, shoot within those limits. Gil is by far the best shooter that shot that stage this weekend, and he shot that spinner more conservatively than any other shooter that went through there, right? So like take that note with you.
Sure.
Right. So in shooting a simple long range plan, like near to far down the right, near to far down the left, near to far down the right, or like I had it written out, like you shoot down the left side, go across the back, and then come back down the right side. So like you're shooting in a horseshoe, right? You're going to see the targets in the right order. So a lot of people try to pick like this zigzag pattern down, and ultimately they would skip over a target, but they have the dope for the target they're supposed to be shooting at, but now they're not shooting at that target. They're shooting at a target that's 70 yards further.
Whoopsies.
So there is, at Brownells range, a trench above the target that is like the 3rd target on the right. For the people that shot the stage, they know what I'm talking about. Of people that were shooting about a foot over that target because they had the dope for the next target.
Damn.
Right. And, or for the target that they went past. Then, let's see, I got people that picked the complex, they got lost, shot at the wrong target. Then sometimes they were shooting at the right target with the wrong dope. Wrong target with the right dope. Anyway, always know your first and last target. Very important. So like I did that in the brief. Like it sounds elementary, but I literally made people, I was like, get out your pointer finger, point at that target. And everybody pointed at the target. I said, now keep out your pointer finger and point at this target. And everybody pointed at the target. I was like, that is the closest on the left. This one's the closest on the right. And the reason I did that was this is the target you're supposed to start on. This is the target you're supposed to end on. Or if you're going to shoot near to far, you start on this side and then you start on this target, like this first target. Because people would skip over that first target and now they're on the second target thinking they're on the first target, and they're on the second target using the first target's dope.
Everything else is messed up.
And what sucks is that second target was only like 50 yards further and it was kind of a big target, so they would get a hit.
Sure.
And then they went to the next target. And now it's far enough where it makes a difference.
Right.
And there's a trench under that target. Like I am shocked that target stem did not break from getting hit so many times. And then they went to the back and they were literally hitting like 50 yards short. And some people got hits because they skipped the bullet into the target.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Like, and if the bullet hits the target, it doesn't matter if it's skipped.
Yeah. Bank shot counts on that one.
Yeah. Because like,
and don't sit there and try to bank shot it. It's not possible.
So like there were probably 15 people over the weekend that skipped into the target, which is bad because there was 2 of the targets you could skip the bullet in the target, but one of them was like almost sitting on the ground. So they got to that target and they like dug a trench 50 yards in front of the target, but the bullet would skip over the top of the target. So they skipped it into the other 2 and couldn't, wasn't working on that one, and they couldn't figure out what was going on because they were all at like 460 or whatever it was. Let's see, another first and last target. We went over the FTE spinner. Yeah, so that's all I had there.
Cool. Tell us about Sunday's 27-minute event. What was it in short form?
Yeah, so first one was they had to load 2 bags on the sled, pull the sled to the cross member, put the bags over the cross member, then their body went over the cross member, and then they pulled the sled under, like an empty sled under, reload the bags. They went like another 30 yards, went around a barrel, came back, bags over, body over, pull the sled under, go back to the shooting position. There was a roof. For round 1, you shot off the roof with your rifle. For round 2, you shot off the tank trap with your rifle. And then round 3, roof. Round 4, tank trap. And then they shot pistol standing in between the roof and tank trap every time.
Roof was for the 320 something, kind of the far one, right?
Yeah, I ended up changing that because
Okay.
you really don't know what target they're going to shoot at. So it was 1 point for the 170-yard target, and it was 2 points for the 3. It was a points stage, so you were accumulating points as you were going.
Sure.
It was 2 points for the 320 target. So
Okay.
and you could shoot all your rounds at the close one or all your rounds at the far one. It didn't matter.
How tall was that wall that they had to put the stuff over and get over?
It was like, for somebody that's 6 foot tall, it was like low chest height.
Okay.
It's 48 inches or so.
Yeah, probably 4 foot, 4.5 foot, something like that.
Middle
so
part
like
was-
forehead height.
I was gonna say for Jenay, she's like crawling over it. It's a shoulder
Well,
height
the girls
for her.
had an 80. I wanted to.
It was just an 80.
Yeah.
Just an 80. I think men's elite had an 80 and a 60, and then the other divisions had like only a 60 or a 60 and a 40, I think, something like that. So
The middle part was shuttle runs.
Well, the most important part of that first one was people were taking way too long to shoot.
Yeah.
The first heat of men's elite, not one of them made it to the 4th shooting iteration. And then the second heat, obviously, like that's why you burn heats throughout, because you don't want the same people shooting first every time. The second group obviously watched the first group, and
Decided
they
to
didn't.
shoot a little faster.
They shot a little faster. Yeah, so they got to the 4th round of shooting there, and like they were finishing with like 20 seconds left, 10 seconds left. The fit ones, they could like get through the fitness as well. Then the second phase was just shuttle runs.
Is there a rest between?
No. Well, yeah. So it was 10 minutes of work and shooting.
2 minutes.
Or 10 minutes. So it was 10 minutes of work and shooting on like
Part
the first
one.
part 1. Then there was a 2-minute rest, and really that 2-minute rest is built in so that we can go change targets before the next heat goes off too.
But is it also to get your gear from the shooting portion, shooting air part 1 to a drop zone or whatever they have?
Yeah. So they took off their pistol belt. They laid their rifle, like everything, the pistol and rifle had to be facing into the berm, and there was a spy over there. But they put everything over by the berm. So they were just in their plate carrier for part 2 and part 3. And I think it was a 60-yard shuttle. So it was like 60 yards one way. So like 120 yards down and back. And you got a point going down and a point coming back.
Okay.
For that. So that's pretty simple.
Sure.
And like Austin shot it very smart. Like he left everything on part 1, and then part 2 he kind of caught his breath a little bit. So part 2 was pretty simple. Then going into part 3, you had your bags, and it was like division dependent on what you were taking. It was either like, I think elite took the 65 pound, which was like the Rogue Farmer's bag. It had 65 pounds in it. Then there was a 55-pound Go Ruck bag and a 45-pound Go Ruck bag. So they had to take all 3 bags. You did a burpee, and that was the buy-in for your attempt to, in one motion, throw all the bags through the window. If you just decided to go 2 bags at a time, you had to do a burpee before you got your another attempt. So before each attempt to go through, you had to do a hand release burpee to earn your next attempt to throw over. So like for the other divisions that just had 2 bags, they could do a burpee and throw 2 bags. Or they could elect just to throw 1, but then you have to do another burpee before you throw the next one.
Sure.
Then you carry to the back line, come back, same thing, through the window, back to the start point. But it was 2 points down, 2 points back. So 4 points for the round, I guess. So there were some people that like sold their soul on the shuttle runs, and they were just dead when it came time to do the like bags through the window, body through the window thing. So yeah, it's what I have to say about that is it is smart to step back and look at the stage and think about how much time and effort it takes to earn a point and decide where you're going to invest your time and effort into that stage. Because sometimes it's like not what you would think.
Sure.
So yeah, that comes kind of with experience. So also with that stage on the 320, just from experience, you can write, Jake, I mean, how many times have we we even used to put like an extra target on the target stand and spray paint the lane number, and people would still shoot the wrong target.
Correct.
So what I always do is right before I shoot, or on my first round, if they're not letting you get a sight picture, I find the far left target but depending on what lane I'm in.
Right.
Like if I'm in lane 2, I find lane 1, I find lane 2, then I make sure that there's lane 3, 4, and 5 to the right of my target, and then I go back to my target and I find something unique about my target. Like, is there a metal target on the back berm that is right next to my target? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I'm going to find that metal target. I'm going to find the target that has that just to the left of it. And then I know that's my target every time, and like confirm I'm shooting at the correct one. And there was plenty of stuff on that back berm. There was like a huge frame, like wooden frame to hold other targets. It was like lane 2 was to the left of that frame. Lane 3 was in the middle of that frame. Lane 4 was on the right side of that frame. And then like obviously your left and right, like if you're in lane 1 or 5, you find the one on the furthest side. But definitely identify your target and know that you're shooting at the right target, because there was a lot of people that did not shoot at the correct targets. And usually the RO or the judge will stop you, because I was trying to pay attention, but the targets are so far, like 320 yards, you don't, everybody's shooting
in the same general direction. It's hard to know.
You can know if it's like 100 yards on the berm that somebody's shooting at the wrong target. That's so far you can't tell. And there was a bunch of grass on the berm too, so it was hard to see. But yeah, that was the second stage. But what I would say about that is people way over complicated it. Like in the brief, it was the brief with the teams, and it was teams with like some other, I think it was like intermediate mixed in, took 40 minutes to do the brief.
Will you talk about that? I know we had some stuff before we started recording.
Yeah.
Here.
So let's see. In general, as a competitor, the stages are released, I think,
Thursday or Friday?
Thursday. I think it's Friday.
Is it Friday now?
Midday or like late Friday. Something. Okay. Maybe Thursday night. I don't know. I didn't get the email. But
I don't know.
Whenever they release them, print them out.
Sure.
Get them. And if you've already left, get them on your phone and screenshot all of the stages, because like sometimes internet isn't great at the event site, but screenshot the schedule and screenshot all the briefs. So that way you have them on your phone, whether you have service or not. Read and understand all of them as best you can. Like when you get there, sometimes you're like this isn't what I had pictured in my head, but at least you have all of the stuff in there, like a pretty good idea of what you're looking at doing, and then try and understand what you're doing too. And then I know they put out videos of them like shooting the stages, and a lot of it's like clips of it. It's not like just like the whole progression of one round or whatever, but like watch that so you can see like the individual movements and how they're doing it. then it's not the time to ask like cute questions. Right. So like sometimes people will say like a question trying to be kind of funny. Like as an RO, you do not want people to screw up your stage. You really I'm really invested in them I want them to have a successful stage and not get confused and not mess it up. And if you ask like a funny question, immediately everybody goes off the reservation and starts talking and like all that other stuff. So like save it.
Sure.
Don't do it right then.
Sure.
And then like what they don't understand is as an RO, you've been standing in the direct sunlight for like 8 hours
or more. Yeah.
And it's not that you're like over it, but you really want to do a good job. You really want everybody to listen. You really don't want any problems.
Right.
And the last thing you want is like somebody to have a bad experience on your stage. So save those questions. Don't do those. If you are hopelessly lost or a person that asks a million questions, let the stage brief happen. Let other people ask the questions that they need to ask. If they just have like a question here, a question there, and then wait till afterwards, after the brief. And in that intermediate time, there's usually like 15, 20 minutes before the first group's going to go. Come up to the RO and ask all your questions. And then they have some time to like really go through it with you. Because if you're going to ask 20 questions, like the same thing as asking a cute question, people go off the reservation, start talking to their friends. Next thing you know, there's 30 people talking. Nobody's paying attention. And it's hard to get everybody back on the rails again. So wait, because like if you have a million questions, there's probably like 3 or 4 other people that do too. For whatever reason, it's just not clicking for you, which is fine. I've been there, like just totally not understanding something. Wait till after, form a little group of 4 or 5 people that have a ton of questions, and then the RO can address all of those without it being a distraction to the whole group type thing. But yeah, that was one of the big ones, is especially a stage like that. And you also as an RO, you want everybody doing the same work.
Yep.
And basically what I told people is like, listen, if you do something that's uncommon and I see you doing it, nothing that you've done up until that point has counted now. Like, and I made it very clear, like, does everybody understand the common way to do this? And I was like, and if you don't understand, raise your hand and ask your questions now. And then basically said, all right, everybody here says they understand the common way. You've watched me, because I demonstrated everything. I was like, you've watched me do it. You'll understand the way it's supposed to be done. If you show up and you do something different, nothing that you're going to do is going to count.
Right. Like,
we are all doing it this way. I understand that your brain's running in circles trying to find a way to game this. It ain't going to work today.
Right.
Like, it is my pet peeve. I've been, slighted in events by people doing things they shouldn't be doing, or like they know how to do it right and they're not doing it right. But I refuse to be the guy that is going to do it that way. So as an RO, I won't let it happen in front of me. So everybody knows the right way to do stuff. Do it the right way.
Yep.
Because I promise you lose respect of everybody around you if you're the guy that's doing it differently.
Yep.
So those are like the main things that we went over. But being an RO is like super rewarding.
Oh yeah.
And it's mainly rewarding in like watching the elite guys and girls go through is cool, right? Because they're doing things very methodically. They're doing things very, all that stuff. Like Gil on the 2-gun stage had the cleanest show clear with pistol of anybody there, right? And he won the stage. I think he beat Hebner by like 5 or 6 seconds. I think there was another guy that was within like 5 or 6 seconds of Gil, but like he beat everybody by at least double, right? Like, so he was like 82, and the average time was timed out with targets left out there, right? And he had time to properly go through and very cleanly show clear and holster his gun. You have time too. You know what I mean? Like, he took the time to do it. Everybody should take the time to do it. So it's really cool to see everybody, like the elite guys and girls, go through very, methodically, cleanly, all the masters guys, like all that stuff. But it is much more rewarding seeing like the intermediate people that are brand new, getting their like small wins here and there,
that's cool.
stuff like that. And like seeing their excitement that they did something they didn't think they were going to do, or they get their 320-yard paper target back and they're like, oh my God, I hit it 5 times.
Right.
Like, I cannot believe I just did
Right.
that. So that stuff is really cool to see.
Yeah.
So, but that's like the reason to go RO is like see people get wins that you previously they didn't think they could do something and they did it.
Sure.
So
That's cool.
yeah, it's once you've competed quite a bit, you should go and like you understand how stage flow goes, you understand all that, you should RO. Like everybody that's invested as an athlete should at some point go RO. I mean, you've done it several times.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
yeah. Yeah, overall, definitely recommend doing it, especially as a competitor. You get way better even now. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in charge of running events for 2 years. And every time I go RO, I learn things and see things. It's like, oh, that was smart. And a lot of times it's the intermediate guy or girl that like has no idea what they're doing and they accidentally do something that's really smart. And you're like, I'm going to
back pocket that one.
stick
Not
that in my
gonna
back pocket
talk
and-
about that. We're gonna shove that in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Cool.
And pull that one out one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really good event. I mean, the Brownells people are really invested into it.
Yeah,
The range
those dudes are cool.
The range is awesome. There's grass at the range, which is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Like so it's not like a dust storm the entire time.
It looked like they redid some of those ranges. Have they redone them at all, or did I just
I don't know.
see things
I don't
differently?
think it was pretty similar.
Pretty similar?
Yeah, to the last time I was there. They may have done a little bit, but if they have, I
It just looked like the ground was. I mean, it didn't look not bad. Like it was
yeah, no, it looked good.
improved or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean,
not that it was bad to begin with. It was a beautiful
It
range.
looks like front yard grass everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's everything looked really good. The range is nice. Again, grass is awesome. It keeps dust down. You're able to pull sleds, and it like stays consistent from group
Lane
to
to
group.
lane, yep.
Yeah, and it's a really cool facility. But like as you know, when the range is into it and they like it and they want it there, it makes the whole event go much better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was very true to Griffin Group Range too.
Yeah,
Whatever it's actually called.
yeah.
Their staff was all about it and they were so helpful, and I mean they were really friendly with competitors too, and it made a difference. It was really cool.
We've had it both ways.
Yep.
We've had it to where the range is just an absolute nightmare to work with. And then we've had it where the range is like, this is the coolest thing we've ever seen. Like, y'all have to come back here.
And sometimes it'll be like back-to-back events. You're like, what happened between this month and this month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like as an organization, like when we have it and then now when Nick has it, you do the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean it's the Brownells guys and staff. They provided staff and ROs, and there were some high school kids that came out and helped, and,
Sick.
stuff like that.
Super
and
cool.
they all did a really good job. The guy that kept score on my stage was awesome. He helped out. I mean, I may have said 5 words to him on day one just because I was so busy. Like
Having a
forcing
good
people through.
scorekeeper on your squad is huge.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes your life for the weekend so much easier.
The worst thing is walking over to the tablet and looking at it and being like, "Oh no."
Yeah, nothing's been entered.
Or they've entered everything wrong.
Wrong. That's
Yeah.
even worse. Yeah.
Because now you got to go back and redo everything.
Yeah. It's best if it's just not entered at
Yeah,
that
if they just
point.
didn't enter it, it was way better. But yeah, my scorekeeper was great. Volunteers were great. The Brownells people were awesome. It's a good event. It's a good location to be at. And then having Brownells back you up as an organization is always a good thing because they're definitely like a powerhouse in the industry. So yeah, all that went real well.
Right on. Last question. Who stood out to you in the men's field and in the women's field this weekend? Can be any division, but
Austin on the 3-part stage, he shot the rifle clean.
Clean.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I think he had 1 miss on pistol, so that was pretty impressive, especially because like
How hard he went physically.
how hard he went physically
Yeah.
and still shot rifle clean.
That's hard.
And from the roof and the tank trap, that was pretty impressive. Some of the people that shot the swinger that are like brand new shooters and got it to go over, that was pretty impressive. Some of the older guys, like on the third part of the 27-minute stage, seeing them like
Saw some of the videos. They were just like diving through that.
There's
freaking
photos
window.
of people diving through the window
and just like pushing it to the limit.
I saw Joey Roush like hop backwards and like hit his butt and just fall through.
The funny thing is like that's and one reason to listen. Joey's awesome. Love Joey. His wife is probably more awesome.
Oh, Jill! Shout out to Jill. You're the best.
Shout
Team
out.
mom.
Super nice.
Team mom.
Always in a great mood.
Oh yeah.
Super nice. One reason why you listen to the brief really well is your points counted when your bags went through. Your body didn't have to go through to get the point. So like he sold out and like dove through it. He didn't have to dive through it.
Made a great photo.
I think I did see your comment about that on his post.
But yeah, see those people. And then like a quick caveat to that is one of the reasons why we have the judges is so that we can keep an eye on you for so that we can keep an eye on you for 15, 20 minutes after the event, especially, some of the older guys.
Yeah.
That have like doused themselves in caffeine and pre-workout and stuff. So like there's a second reason why we make you immediately recycle and become, it's not really a judge as much as it is a rep counter.
Yeah.
But we make you become a rep counter and like kind of a secondary safety person to like make sure the clearing procedure is going right. The third reason we're doing that is so that you can like, it may have been lost in translation over the years, but like one of the reasons why is because we get to keep an eye on you for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Make sure you're okay.
Yeah. Big time.
But there's definitely there was two older guys that I definitely was glad I keep an eye on for a little while because they looked like they were struggling at the end, but they ended up being great. So, and then hearing them cheer for people, like that's pretty cool. All that stuff. But yeah, good event, good experience. Glad I checked that box for a little while. It takes a lot out of me. Like
it
mentally.
does, man. That shit's hard.
I'm not like I'm kind of a hermit in my life. So, having that many interactions with people takes a lot out of me. So, I'll do it again, but I'm going to give it like a year before I do it again. So anyway.
Cool.
Cool.
Yep.
Right on.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll see y'all next time.
All right.